Hey guys, welcome to Wrestling Daze and welcome to today's Wyatt 6 video. I'm going to start with a bit of an apology. Yesterday's video went way longer than I thought it was going to. I always try to make these about half an hour. And honestly, yesterday I didn't even know that we were going to hit that because it felt like a lot of the things that had been spoken about were things that we already knew about. There was a lot of kind of bringing casual fans up to speed, shall we say. And so I think if you've been following the QR codes, there wasn't loads there for you to get your teeth into, but it just felt the more we were exploring the folder and the things that I'd been sent, the more there were these little threads that we could just pull on with the music and just little bits and bobs, you know? So before I knew it, like 40 minutes had gone and I couldn't believe it. So yeah, I'm aiming for this to be a little bit shorter, but still plenty for us to get our teeth into. Let's start with this, shall we? This is the big talking point of the day. So here, I know loads of people tagged me in this and it's really appreciated. GHTT is the one that I saw. What is this under the truck? Right? And I said, whoa, how did this get past us? Because to be honest, this is quite unusual for something to happen and for us to not pick up on it because so many of you are keeping an eye out on everything that's happening. How did this get past us, right? Chad Gable's in big trouble. So what we're looking at is this right here, okay? So underneath the truck, you can see, I don't know if it's just the head or if it's the whole body, but that certainly is that. Ratchet the Owl said this is the Huskus to be exact. It looks like it's just the mask. So this is when Bray returns and we had all the puppets in the arena at Extreme Rules 2022. And so this was the Huskus we got then, right? Well, underneath the truck, you can see the Huskus head right there. And yeah, this was Chad's. But as I said here, how did this get past us? Don't worry, this was on an exclusive interview, a backstage segment, a digital exclusive. So this was not during Raw. So it's not like we just missed it and none of us picked up on it. I never even saw this exclusive interview, this digital exclusive, and I don't think many of you did either. So that's how this was missed. So that's where it came from, but obviously today it did the rounds and a lot of people talking about that. And as we said, that is the Huskus that was shown. We should actually have the clip somewhere and we'll get to that in a bit, but we're going to walk our way through the folder. You know what it's like, things getting sent at different points. I just keep chucking them in. Things that really catch my eye, I put into the folder, and this definitely caught my eye. This was even retweeted by WWE. This has come from JPJ Loves Wrestling. So if we just press play on that, you can see, look at this. What a brilliant, brilliant camera angle this is. We're right behind Michael Cole. Look at how amazing Nikki is there, right? There is the lights going off. Nikki's standing, staring, her head tilted slightly to the sides. She backs up and goes underneath the ring. Absolutely awesome. So good. So intimidating. I mean, if you weren't having nightmares before, you're certainly having them now. And then this as well. So James Rose, thank you. This was Dexter Lumis. He's a brilliant artist. We did just tweet out, if you're not aware of Dexter Lumis, maybe you're kind of newer to WWE and you didn't watch Dexter before. He's someone that tends to communicate through art, through his work and his paintings and his drawings. He is very skilled as an artist, and as a result, he doesn't tend to speak much. Instead, he'll use his art to communicate. So this is definitely an account that's worth following. Dexter Lumis, I think, could put out some very interesting art that we might have to decipher. Right now, this is pretty straightforward, isn't it? This is a look at his character. We know that he is playing the Mercy character, and it's a brilliant piece. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on Dexter and see what else he sends. Jason said the bit where Bo said they weren't chosen, just willing. That was an awesome detail. They are all there because they want to be, not because they were coerced. It makes them even more terrifying. I really like this from Jason. I feel like with the QR codes, the whole campaign, we know that invitations were sent. I think these people are there willingly. I think they were down on their luck. I think they did feel abandoned. I think they did feel discarded. And I think Uncle Howdy is now providing them a sense of family, a very real sense of family. And yeah, I think they are there willingly. So interesting that Jason picked up on that bit where Bo said they weren't chosen, they were just willing. And that implying that all of these want to be there. Right, Wan said, I've got a theory about the missing window from the Funhouse. What if with each VHS session, something from the Funhouse vanishes, as if Howdy has set them free? There's no need for the Funhouse to exist anymore. So first it's Abby's window and going on and like the door and everything. I think that's really, really good, right? The only thing I would say is that there is a theory up here that the window might actually still be there. It's really hard to see. But here, look, Brett Lee says, the window shade is down. I don't think it's gone. So is it just a case that a shutter is down? A shade is down? I mean, I really can't tell. I mean, in regards to this, I do like that theory that we're going to remove aspects until there's just not going to be a Funhouse left, right? I think that's an interesting theory. I don't know. I mean, I really struggle with this, to be honest, because I don't know why you would take the window away. You'd have to do that on purpose. I mean, if you think about it, this is a real set, right? And so that panel has got a window cut out of it. So if you're gonna remove the window, you've got to change that panel on purpose. That you're only doing that for a reason, right? You're only doing that because you're trying to communicate something. So if that window is gone, and it does look like it's gone, but I do like what Brett Lee is saying, like maybe there's a blind or some screen that's come down and it's just really hard to tell in the light, right? If it's gone, there must be a reason for it. I'm probably leaning towards it being a screen that's down or something. But oh my god, I mean, it looks, I just can't see it. I just can't even see the screen or it really does look like a wall with some curtains hanging. And as I said, if they've done that, they must have done it for a reason. You would have to remove that panel. And it just seems unlikely that they would go to those lengths to do that when I don't know that there's a need to do it, you know? Unless they're really trying to send a message, as you said. So, yeah, that whole side of it, I think, is quite interesting and something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. Yeah, I don't know if we get another of those interviews next Monday. If we do, all those little details we're going to be keeping an eye out for. So, right, we're back to that bit with the hidden mask. Up here, David said, wild theory, Adam Pearce could be the puppet master or a higher power. Each member had their character mask superimposed over their face. The unknown mask, which always felt important, that was put over Adam Pearce's face. And it is true. This mask here is unknown, really. There's people saying that it's Mercy, and it could be. I do struggle with that a little, just because there is another image of it that's cleaned up a little bit. It doesn't look like Mercy in that other image. It looks a lot more like the mask that Harper used to wear. If this turned out to be Uncle Harper, I can't say I would be too shocked, right? Because it looks like the mask that Harper used to have. We know that the Uncle Harper name was trademarked, but why has it been put over the face of Adam Pearce? So, look, this is just a thought. We're certainly not saying that it's going to go this way, but it is interesting how their alter egos were put over their faces, right? And then they've done that with Adam Pearce. So definitely something to just be aware of. Words of Red, I don't know what this is, right? So I just thought I would include it. So Words of Red said, when Gable was backstage, I spotted writing in red on the wall, but I can't tell what it says. Also, in between Miz and Braun seems to be a dark figure. Well, I don't know about, I mean, figures in the backgrounds. I'm not sure, to be honest. I think if it's really hard to kind of make out, then it's probably not something we need to be aware of. I think if they are putting something in the background, we should be able to tell what it is quite comfortably. So figures in the background, I'm not sure. Don't think there's anything with that. But the one that we're interested in is this writing, which it might not be anything at all, right? The only reason why I was really interested in this is because obviously we know Bray, the words of the red, and now here we've got red words backstage. But we know there's loads of stuff backstage. You know, there's loads of like little QR codes on boxes and little bits and bobs. I mean, I wonder if we can just go full screen on that. So there, I mean, it seems to say something like ball. I don't know. I mean, that even looks a bit like a G, maybe a 6. I just don't know. My gut feeling is this is probably nothing. This is probably to do with like backstage stuff. And so it's probably not anything that we need to really worry about. But I think with a lot of these things, if I can't find an answer, and I do think there is some sort of connection, I'll just show it you, and you know, you can keep an eye out on it. So with this, I don't know, and I'm saying I don't know, but I'm also saying words of the red and things popping up backstage. Yeah, okay, well, we'll make a note of it. Matty versus the Worlds, right? Matty versus the Worlds, shout out to you. I really like this because it's quite long, it's quite detailed. I think it does kind of sum up where a lot of people's minds are, right? So Matty versus the World said, did you catch that it was Bo who said right at the end of the vignette, there you are, as opposed to Howdy? That was the moment that two became one, to quote Spice Girls, haha. He finally gave in to his own mind and thoughts and embraced Howdy. How long are we going to do this, etc.? He settled on who he is and his purpose. I think we may now see Howdy interviewing the others, or the part where he goes to get them. We may not see how Nikki, Joe, etc. became who they are now. I think the pottery reference was a nod to him molding these characters into who they are now. Perhaps that location Howdy visited in the Nightbird videos turns out to be the 6th member, ? I still think this is a slow burn, and we will see some of the blanks filled in before they compete in matches. I think they will be at Money in the Bank, and they will attack collectively, shock and awe for the crowds, and that will be complemented by continuing to tell the story. Rob, am I close with this? Please put me out my misery. So I thought that was excellent, and I thought like that was a really good way of just sort of, I don't know, tying a few things together there. I mean, I think that there you are is really interesting because I think there's a few ways of interpreting that. I do also interpret a few things here differently to the way that Matt has interpreted them. For example, he talks about that being the moment where he finally embraces Howdy, but I don't know. I kind of feel like he had been fighting Howdy for a long time, and I think he had maybe accepted Howdy a long time ago. I don't know that. I sort of feel like Howdy has kind of always been a presence with Bo, and so I don't know that that's the moment he accepted him. That kind of, why are we doing this? I interpreted that as, you know, they're talking about losing Bray. And if you think about it, like, don't forget, he sat there and he said, how did it feel when your brother died? So that means it's after Bray has passed. And Bo was playing Howdy when Bray was alive. So that's another reason why I struggle with the theory that that's the moment he accepted Uncle Howdy, because he must have accepted Howdy when Bray was alive, because we saw Howdy and Bray together on screen. So I think what's really interesting about this interview is that there's lots of little lines and little things that you can interpret in different ways. And I think trying to put the pieces of this puzzle together, it's a little tricky, to be perfectly honest with you. I kind of feel like if you really get into the weeds, you can really end up getting quite stuck, because lots of little things can be interpreted in lots of little ways. I think the bigger picture is probably healthier to focus on, and that is, why has the group come together? How did they come together? Is Uncle Howdy and Bo the same person? And I think that's what got answered. You know, that bit at the end where, you know, they put the mask over Bo and they're like talking to each other. I sort of feel like they thought that was going to be like a big shock swerve moment. Like, oh my God, they're the same person. It's just that we knew that. I feel like it might have been a big shock swerve for anyone that was a casual that didn't know that Uncle Howdy and Bo were the same person. You know, there might have been people out there that watched and thought that these two were two different people actually sitting down doing an interview. And then, oh my God, their mind was blown. My God, they're the same person. So it's really difficult, because I sort of feel like we take those things for granted because we know those answers, but there's people out there that don't. And I think a lot of what we saw kind of catered to them. I wonder if, like, when Bo's getting animated and worked up, Uncle Howdy goes, "There you are." Because what he's actually seeing is glimpses of himself, because he knew that he was in Bo. He knows that he's in Bo. It's just the people watching maybe didn't know that they were one and the same person. So I really do love this from Matt, though, even though there's a couple of parts in here that I think me and Matt are on maybe different sides of the fence on. By and large, I think it's there or thereabouts. I think that it was a way of showing that they are both the same person. And I think that, as you said, you know, the Potter reference was a way of showing the fact that he had molded these people into being these puppets, you know. And I agree with that. He'd molded the characters into what they are now. You know, there's other little bits and little lines that are in there. That I am nobody, I am all of us. You know, that's a tricky one to decode. Why does Bo think that he is nobody? I understand him saying I am all of us, because if he has been responsible for bringing those puppets to life, then maybe he feels like, you know, he is all of them in a way. But it's difficult, isn't it? But then I suppose it leads to the question, do you think you're special? If you're all of them, then do you think you're special? And that was kind of an interesting question with an interesting answer, where Bo kind of walked back from that, you know. Again, this is where you can really get in the weeds, and it can get really like, oh, my head, you know. It's tricky, because so much of this can be decoded in so many different ways. But I did really like this from Matt, and I wanted to make sure that we included it. Right, here we go. Wrestling fans since day one said, what is Braun cooking with the awesome truth? So this was a bit here. This was really good, actually, because this went for like 2 minutes, and we got the Chad moment. He chats with the Creeds. Then we get Miz and R-Truth talking. Miz is upset that R-Truth basically gave away that title opportunity. But R-Truth is so good. He's like, look, here's Andre. And then in comes Braun Strowman. You know, he's got that kind of, you know, him getting confused. He keeps doing that, but in a much more natural kind of setting this time. So yeah, this is a really good video if you get a chance to watch it. I mean, what I would say is, obviously, boom, look, you press start straight away. I mean, there's Huskus under there. There is Chad's, and he's chatting away. Bumps into the Creeds, walks past Miz and R-Truth, and they have a little bit of a disagreement. He's upset at the fact that they don't have the tag titles anymore. R-Truth's like, here's Andre. In walks Braun. And Braun basically says, look, we've got a problem here with the Judgment Day. You know, I've been fighting with the Judgment Day. You've just lost your titles with the Judgment Day, and it feels like something's being cooked up here. I would not be surprised to see Finn, JD, maybe Dominic or Carlito taking on Braun, Miz, and R-Truth. That definitely feels like a direction that we're heading in. And maybe that is where the Wyatt Six could strike as well. I don't know, it's difficult because it really feels like they're going after Chad. It really feels like Chad is the target. But as you'll see in a bit, there's other people thinking that there may be other targets. But we'll get to it. Dormouse69 said, I don't know if you've seen this, but after SmackDown, Nikki crawls back under the stage and then Jay came out. What are your thoughts? Okay, well, here, look, this is Nikki. So she comes out. Obviously, we've got the music. So she puts the box on. We've already seen behind Michael Cole. She walks back, stands there. And obviously the music's playing away. Michael has a look at the box. I actually feel like this jumps a couple of times, actually. Like, I think it jumped there, and it'll jump again in a minute. She walks back, and then all of a sudden, Jay just appears.
Holy shit! Holy
right, you've got the chant. The fireflies. Boom, that's a jump.
Damn, all right, hey, man, yeah, y'all have a good time and enjoy.
Can I just say, I saw a load of people going, oh, look where Jay was all that time. I don't know where Jay was all that time. I don't know that he was just standing on the outside of the ring, because that is clearly a jump, right? I mean, look, here, it's pitch black. There's lights up in the air, fireflies and everything. Then next second, lights are on. They don't just turn on, look, because you can see that this camera is a wide shot, and then it's all of a sudden a close-up shot. So there's clearly some missing time there. So I don't know where Jay was during this. I don't know if he jumped into the crowds. Maybe he was just stood on the outside of the ring. I'm not sure. But either way, we get to hear. So I think at this point we were at commercial break. So we get to hear what Jay had to say to the crowds.
They go. Damn, all right, hey, man, yeah, y'all have a good time and enjoy the show. Welcome to Monday Night Raw. Hey, give it to me one time. One time. 3, 2, 1.
Oh. There we go. So Jay walks away, and that's it. I saw a few people criticize him saying, oh, they gone. But in all fairness, this was just for the live crowd. We never got to see this. And I don't think there was anything there. I mean, he's not being targeted. So I'm all right with him being like, oh, have they gone? I didn't think there was really anything too disrespectful there, you know? It's not like he was joking around or anything. So I thought that was okay. I thought that was fine. So Dormal, shout out to you. Matt said, I think he's talking about Solo. So BWA Matt said, even now there's false prophets parading, belittling their own family for their own gain. It's disgusting. They must pay for their sins. So Matt says he believes this to be about the bloodline and be about Solo. I mean, what I would say is, I think that's correct. I mean, it says false prophets. That does imply more than one. And Solo would definitely fit the criteria. The only thing I would say is that it really does feel like they are involved with something to do with Cody and Randy and Kevin. And it feels like we're not far away from Roman coming back. I just don't know how the Wyatt Six fit into a program with the bloodline right now, or how they fit into a program with Solo right now. It feels like they're pretty booked up. So I think the focus is Chad's in the short term, but I've no doubt that they will cross paths with Solo's bloodline at some point, but I don't know when, and I don't even know if it'll be this year, to be honest, because I think they might go after Judgment Day as well. And there's a few targets. I don't even know how long they're going to feud with Chad. So, yeah, I agree. I think Solo absolutely fits the criteria. I just don't think it's going to be right now. Interesting theory. Yeah, I retweeted that one about Adam Pearce. I mean, I don't think Adam Pearce is going to be involved here. I don't think he's going to be Uncle Harper or he's going to be part of the group and wear a mask or anything like that. But they're targeting him and they're sending messages out to him. And it is very interesting. They're clearly upset with the establishment. And the person that seems to symbolize that is Adam Pearce. So I think that he'll continue to be targeted, to be honest. I would not be surprised to see his X account continuing to be hacked. So, yeah, something to keep an eye on. Roni said, a zombified Nikki Cross standing randomly in front of the announce table, staring at nothing, now feels like it has more significance. As a member of the Wyatt SICKS, delivering packages to the announce table and staring across as she walked off. That is, I mean, it's just worth people knowing that she was doing this for a while, just sort of standing there and staring away. I don't know if at this point here she knew that she was going to be doing this character. It would be very interesting to find out at what point she found that out. Because I do think a lot of the stuff that happened in the past was because they just didn't have anything for her. I mean, she was doing a lot of standing around and staring and walking off into the distance. I don't know that that was planting the seeds for Uncle Howdy and whatever. I think there's a chance that they just did not know what to do with her. And then we ultimately ended up where we ended up, you know? Because if you look at, like, Dexter Lumis, we weren't doing anything weird with him. If they had all gone through a period of doing stuff like this, then I might be a bit more inclined to say, yeah, I think you could be onto something. But I think the fact that she was doing this for so long, I just sort of get the feeling that they creatively weren't sure what to do with her, and then this opportunity came up. And I would love to know at what point she actually knew that she was going to be joining the group and we started working towards that. So I don't know. I look at this and I can't say like, oh my God, yeah, this is the seeds being planted. It could equally just be that this was the creative they had for her at the time. But what I do like about it is just how eerily similar it is. And that's what Roni's pointing out. Roni's just making that comparison. Look at Nikki here, standing in front, staring into the distance in front of the commentary table, and then compare it to what she's doing here. And it is kind of spooky how similar it is. So, Roni, shout out to you, my friends. Gary said, what if every time Uncle Howdy says, there you are, he is mind controlling Bo? Because every time Howdy said that, the interview goes crazy. I think it's really, I mean, like, we spent a little bit of time trying to dig into a few of those little things earlier when we were touching on Matt's points, and it's difficult. I think so much of it can be decoded in, like, so many slightly different ways. That's why if I find myself getting a little bit too much in the weeds, I just sort of pull back, because I think the information that we really need to be taking from this is who's in charge, how's the group come together, why have they come together, who do we think they're going after, how does it relate to Bray and Bray's legacy, how does it relate to the Funhouse. Those are kind of the big themes that I think we need to focus on and get answers with, and I think a lot of those things we've got answers for. And I suppose as a result of having those answers, we now start nitpicking into the little, why do you think they said that, what could it mean, how does it connect to the, like, you know, we get into the weeds, you know, which I really enjoy doing. But we've only had the 2 interviews, and unfortunately, I'm waiting for that one with Rowan, and I'm waiting for that one with Nikki, and I want to see, I think we will get like real answers there. I feel like we got a lot of what we needed from Bo in week 1. I don't know if week 2 gave us much more, but as I said yesterday, it was still a really brilliant way of bringing those up to speeds that maybe hadn't engaged in the QR code campaign. I'm Just Ken said, so watching last night's Bo Howdy segment, I caught something. In last week's video, Howdy said, there you are, once to Bo. Last night, he said it twice. What if, in the weeks to come, it increases by 1 until we get to 6? which ends the week of SummerSlam. How about that? I really like that from I'm Just Ken. That's a great theory. So he said it once, now he said it twice. Will he say it 3 times next time? That's interesting. The Real Steel said, totally looks like Gable has got a baby hand. And I know what you're thinking. What does that mean? What does it mean that it looks like Gable's got a baby hand? Well, hang on. Let me find... Have I got a good picture of it? Here. It must be this. So it's this here. If you ignore that bit there, there's a picture doing the rounds that looks like that. And that looks like a little Gable baby hand. There's a picture that's cropped about at this level here, and it does look like I mean, that's not Gable's hand, by the way. There's someone sat next to him, and I did see that, and I was like, oh, that's pretty funny. It does. It does look like he's got a little baby hand. Look, even Carmella loves it, so it must be true. Right, so we've looked at all of this. We've looked at this. Brett Lee said the window shade is down, so we touched on that. Matt said, I don't think Chad's the one they're after. After hearing Bo talk, I think it's the bloodline. Right, here we've got Kai-chan, who said for Rowan's header, it's called the Broken House. You can find it on Google. Don't you think that's really interesting? That his header is called the Broken House. I think that's really interesting. This is his new header image. I wonder if that's to do with Harper not being around and Wyndham not being around and the Broken House. So that's the name of his image. So Kai-chan, excellent work. Here, look, we've got Uncle Revel, who said, with their still talk of the Firefly Fun House being in Bray's mind, here's a reminder. Seth entered the Fun House and burned it down, referencing it the next week. Randy also entered and attacked the puppets during Alexa's playground. It is a physical place. So we have spoke about this before, about the fires and Randy getting in there. We know Adam Pearce went in there to deliver a contract as well. My theory on this, and it's just a theory, is I think that Bray had this in his mind and thought of these things. And I think that you can't show us in someone's mind. So he created a set for real. He created puppets for real. Because we've seen puppets in the background. We know the puppets were made, right? They might have been in his mind, but we know they got made as well. Because we've seen them in the background as people have made their way to the ring, right? So here we've got, I think, the physical Funhouse, which is where I believe that Bo and Howdy are now, in the physical Funhouse, that was basically a physical representation of what was in Bray's mind. And this is how, like, Randy was able to invade. This is how Adam Pearce was able to visit. This other one was like a different set, actually. This was a backstage set. This was like the traveling set, if you will. They actually had 2 fun houses. They had one with a window and a door. They had another one that had no window and no door, and it just had pictures and a table in front. And that was the one they used backstage live. Well, not live, but like if they needed to do a vignette that day, you can't keep going to this studio. This is at Tom Savini's studio, right? So you couldn't keep going and filming stuff there. So you needed something that was just easy to transport. And so they had like a mini one, if you will. And that was burnt down as well by Seth. So I think this is worth just mentioning because there's a lot of thoughts and a lot of theories. And I think, to be honest, there's probably a lot of people that didn't watch the Funhouse because it is like 5 years ago now. And there's probably a lot of people that don't know some of these little details. So there's probably little bits of the story that some people have missing. So it's just a theory, right? It's just a theory. Some people might think that this is Randy invading Bray's mind. This is Seth invading Bray's mind. And that it's all still happening within Bray's mind. But I don't know. I always leaned more towards it being a physical place. And it being like a physical place based on Bray's thoughts. So it's still Bray's mind, if you will, but it's just a physical representation. Right, a couple more here. I just thought you'd find this interesting. Fergie said, I attended Raw last night, and every Wyatt Six segment, the crowd tore the roof off the building. But when I went back and watched, I noticed that WWE muted the crowd a little. So this didn't translate. Casual fans are very much into this run. Also, during the tape segments, the crowd really popped hard at the end when Bo said, I set them free. He confirmed that he and Howdy are the same person. I don't think it was wise for WWE to mute the crowds. Everyone was fully behind this. Do you know, thank you as well, Fergie. But I listened to Jim Cornette. He's still not on board, right? I'm not sure we'll get him on board. And it doesn't matter. But I've said before, you can go two ways with that. You can either go, oh, screw you, old man, and go down that road. Or you can go down the road of, okay, what can we do to bring him and others that aren't on board? And I'd much rather go that way. I'd much rather as many people as possible enjoy this. So I'd much rather go that way. But he's still not on board. And but he did say, and his co-host said, they've had so many people getting in touch going, nah, I think you're wrong on this. I think this is really good. And he said, like, this is one of the biggest kind of pushbacks we've ever had from our community, which I thought was really interesting. So I agree. I think the casuals are on board with this. I think people are on board with this. They've got to be super, super careful, of course, because people can find things cringy at different points. And I think for the vast majority of people watching this, you're on board, you're locked in. You know, it's gonna have to take quite a bit for you to kind of get off board, right? But there's people that are on board, but only just as well, you know? So they're gonna have to be careful. They're gonna have to make this, in my opinion, credible. They're going to have to make it so that it is cool. They're going to have to make it so it's believable. They're going to have to make it so that you can explain everything. And I think the reason you have to do that is because it runs the risk of not being easily understandable. If you've got this really complex story, it's going to be so hard to explain it to someone that just joins now. Like, you need to keep the story, you know, detailed, but still at a surface level so you can quickly explain it, right? But if you want to dig deeper, there's something more there. I think they're doing about as good a job as you could do at the moment, right? Maybe we would tweak the odd little bit here and there, but I would not change anything massive. I would just maybe do a couple of little tweaks, and I'm sure many of you would just do a couple of little tweaks, but hearing Jim Cornette say that he's had a lot of pushback from his community, reading this from Ferdy Krueger, just sort of confirms that, you know, the casual fans are very much into it at the moment. So all we can say is, so far, so good. And that's all you could ask for, really, isn't it? So I think we do get something at Money in the Bank. I think we do see an attack at Money in the Bank. I do see they'll get involved. I did wonder if they might attack Chad before Money in the Bank match starts. That would then create a vacancy, and we could then put someone else in there. I would love for that to be Sammy. I certainly don't think it'd be a member of the Wyatt Six, but I would love for it to be Sammy. So how about we take Chad out before the match? That could be fun. And then that would mean that CM Punk could get involved during the match to take out Drew. And then probably Jey Uso goes on to win. Probably, but I would love for it to be Sammy. But yeah, I'm thinking it'll be something along those lines, and then that will set up the new Alpha Academy, Creeds and Ivy Nile and Chad taking on the Wyatt Six at SummerSlam. Or maybe just Chad versus Uncle Howdy, but I think I'd be more tempted to do full faction versus full faction and do something along those lines, like get everyone involved. I think I'd be more inclined to go that way. But there we go. That is the video, and it looks like it's going to clock in for another 40 minutes, and I'm really upset with myself as a result, but oh my god, I can't stop talking. I've just got some sort of problem. But hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support, and I will see you again next time. Bye for now.